For billions of years, green has been the color of life. From the towering rainforests to the smallest blades of grass, plants have shaped the world as we know it. They provide us with food, oxygen, and even the air we breathe. But what if, in an instant, every tree, flower, and blade of grass disappeared? How quickly would animals and humans start to feel the effects? Could technology replace the role of plants, or would Earth become uninhabitable? From disappearing forests to vanishing crops, the loss of plant life would trigger a cascade of events, altering everything from the atmosphere to the survival of entire species. Plants are the foundation of life on Earth, forming the base of the food chain and supporting nearly all living organisms. Through photosynthesis, they convert sunlight into energy, releasing oxygen and absorbing carbon dioxide in the process. Terrestrial plants contribute nearly 28% of the Earth's oxygen. Additionally, plants absorb more than 30% of human-made carbon dioxide emissions, playing a crucial role in regulating global temperatures and mitigating climate change. Forests also act as natural air conditioners, influencing weather patterns and stabilizing ecosystems across continents. Beyond air quality, plants drive the water cycle through transpiration. A single large tree can release hundreds of liters of water into the atmosphere daily, aiding cloud formation and precipitation. This process maintains regional rainfall patterns, prevents droughts, and sustains freshwater resources essential for all life. For millions of years, plants have sustained life on Earth by regulating the atmosphere, climate, and ecosystems. If they were to disappear, the balance that supports all living organisms would collapse, and the Earth would begin to change in ways that are both immediate and catastrophic. While the atmosphere holds enough oxygen to sustain life for years, the real crisis begins with the food chain. Nearly 90% of all land-dwelling species depend on land plants, directly or indirectly, for survival. Herbivores, from tiny insects to massive elephants, suddenly lose their primary food source. Within days, smaller plant-eating species like rabbits and rodents would start starving, and within weeks, larger herbivores such as deer, giraffes, and elephants would face mass die-offs. Predators may have food for a short time, but as prey populations collapse, they too will struggle, leading to a cascade of extinctions. For humans, the impact would be just as severe. More than 80% of the world's calorie intake comes from plants, including staple crops like rice, wheat, and corn. Without them, supermarket shelves would empty within weeks, and food production would come to a grinding halt. Livestock, which rely on plant-based diets, would begin to perish, wiping out another crucial food source. Famine would spread rapidly, and global food reserves, estimated to last only a few months, would be depleted, leading to societal collapse. Beyond food, the absence of plants disrupts another vital system, the water cycle. A single large tree can release 400 liters, or around 100 gallons of water, into the atmosphere each day, helping to form clouds and regulate rainfall. Without vegetation to retain moisture, global precipitation levels would drop dramatically, triggering widespread droughts. Rivers and lakes, many of which depend on forested watersheds, would begin to dry up, leaving billions without fresh water. Once fertile lands would transform into barren deserts, and temperatures would rise due to the loss of plants' cooling effect. In just a matter of days and weeks, the world, as we know it, would begin its descent into chaos, making survival nearly impossible. As time passes, the consequences of a world without plants would become catastrophic. With no vegetation to absorb carbon dioxide, atmospheric CO2 levels would surge at an alarming rate. Currently, plants absorb around 30% of human-made CO2 emissions, but without them, this greenhouse gas would accumulate unchecked, driving global temperatures to extreme levels. Scientists estimate that without natural carbon sinks, average temperatures could rise by over 10 degrees Celsius within a century, making large parts of the planet uninhabitable. Heat waves would become deadlier, hurricanes and wildfires more frequent, and entire regions would turn into lifeless wastelands. Without plants, soil erosion would accelerate, leading to massive dust storms similar to the Dust Bowl of the 1930s, but on a global scale. Once fertile lands would degrade into deserts, and freshwater sources would dry up. The Amazon rainforest alone releases 20 billion tons of water vapor into the atmosphere daily. But without trees, rainfall would plummet, worsening droughts worldwide. Rivers that depend on plant-covered watersheds, like the Nile, Ganges, and Amazon, would shrink, leaving billions without drinking water. Desperate to survive, humans might turn to synthetic food and artificial oxygen, but the challenges would be immense. While some algae and bacteria could still produce oxygen, they wouldn't compensate for the 28% of oxygen that land plants currently generate. Oxygen levels would gradually decline, making it harder to breathe, especially in high-altitude regions. Meanwhile, lab-grown food, though advancing, still relies on plant-based nutrients, making long-term survival nearly impossible. Earth itself would become unrecognizable. Once lush and diverse, it would resemble a barren wasteland, similar to Mars or Venus. Without plants, ecosystems would collapse, leading to a mass extinction event rivaling the one that wiped out the dinosaurs 66 million years ago. Scientists warn that we are already in the early stages of the sixth mass extinction, and without plants, nearly all complex life, including humans, would be doomed. Faced with a world without plants, humanity's only hope for survival would lie in technology and adaptation. Underground cities or space colonies might provide temporary refuge, shielding humans from extreme temperatures and dwindling oxygen levels. Scientists have explored self-sustaining biospheres like NASA's Space Habitat Research, which relies on algae and artificial photosynthesis to produce oxygen and food. However, even the most advanced closed-loop systems struggle to replicate Earth's natural ecosystems. Without plants, oxygen levels would steadily decline, and the food production would depend entirely on lab-grown alternatives, which remain costly and inefficient. Despite technological advancements, no artificial system can match nature's ability to regulate climate, purify air, and sustain biodiversity. Trees alone remove 2.6 billion tons of CO2 annually, and plants drive 90% of the planet's water cycle, processes that technology cannot fully replace. Restoring plant life after total collapse would take centuries due to soil degradation, lack of pollinators, and extreme climate conditions. The best solution is prevention. Reforestation, carbon capture, and sustainable agriculture are critical in protecting plant life. Global efforts like Africa's Great Green Wall aim to restore ecosystems by planting trees across 8,000 kilometers of desert. Reducing deforestation, cutting carbon emissions, and investing in conservation are the only ways to ensure we never face a future without plants. Plants are the foundation of life on Earth, and without them, our planet would become unrecognizable. A barren, inhospitable wasteland, unable to sustain life as we know it. Protecting plant life isn't just about preserving nature. It's about ensuring our own survival. Small actions such as reforestation, conservation, and reducing carbon emissions can have a massive impact, as forests alone absorb 2.6 billion tons of CO2 annually. Every tree planted, every habitat restored, and every effort to reduce pollution strengthens Earth's ability to support life. As the stewards of this planet, humans hold the power to either destroy or preserve the delicate balance that keeps our world livable. Thanks for joining us on this eye-opening journey into a world without plants. If you enjoyed exploring interesting stories with us, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. What topics do you want us to dive into next? Let us know in the comments. Join us as we get animated about science here at Animated Science.